Time now for the STOHD.com Diamond in the Rough, and it's Scrappers pitcher Kirk Wetmore. STOHD.com's Tony Lastoria says the 11th round pick in '09 out of Bellevue Community College in Washington State is a lefty that throws from a low 3/4 arm slot. He can command 3 pitches well with his fastball sitting between 87 and 91. He also throws a slider and curve, and long term looks like a potential bullpen option for the Tribe.
Well, I've had the opportunity to see this kid pitch down at Mahoney Valley. I like the way his arm slot is. It's very nice. His arm action with the ball moving as much as it does is very good, along with his breaking ball. It looks good. Hopefully he has an opportunity to move up.
Yeah, we'll see. Read more about Indians prospects every week on Minor Happenings on STOHD.com, and also in Tony's book listing the 100 top Tribe prospects. And welcome back to Indians Minor League Magazine, joined now by Ross Adkins. Ross, good to see you.
Thanks for having me. That's an impressive assessment between you and Tony on Kirk Wetmore.
You like that?
That
Kind of what you were thinking as well, right?
I don't know what I'd add to it.
Perfect. Ross, let's start off talking about some of these guys that are rehabbing for you injury-wise. Lonnie Chisenhall, who was just named the International League Player of the Week, looks like he's come back in full force and is really hitting the baseball.
Yeah, he really is. He got off to what he would call a slow start because of how talented he is. He faced a ton of left-handed pitching early, and I think he's made some very positive adjustments. Not only with left-handed pitching, his approach altogether. Had a minor health setback, and he's certainly back to 100%. Had an incredible week, and he's had really a solid month. I think most notably about Lonnie are the strides he's made defensively. He's had very few errors, and really doesn't project to have any limitations at that position any longer.
Well, he looks like he's really coming into his own of being a Major League ball player. Now we talk a little bit about Bo Mills. He's had a lot of injuries. He's had some setbacks, and now finally we're starting to see a kid be healthy again, hit with power. What's your take on him?
Yeah, Bo's a great story. I mean, he's been extremely frustrated over the last couple of years, and he knows he's a better player than what his performance has dictated. And now it's showing up a little bit. His strength, his competitiveness. The thing about Bo, we talk about it all the time, is he is still, even with probably not the stellar performance of some of these other players, he's a leader in our organization. Our older veteran players look to Bo for wisdom, for guidance, for strength, and I think because of that, there's a lot to be positive about in him recovering and becoming a Major League player.
Good to see Bo doing as well as he has. And Ross, how about Adam Miller? He's one of the favorites people love to talk about. I know you guys love him, and that finger was such an issue for him, but he's back pitching this year. He's moving up a little bit. Where's he at? And could he ever be that Adam Miller that we saw just a few years ago?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think the starting rotation will be in his future, but he's flashing the 95s and 96s. The slider is flashing above average at times. It's finding the consistency with a different finger, which is pivotal in your pitching delivery. It's where the last place the ball touches your hand, and he's finding the feel and the ability to manipulate those pitches consistently. And as Jason knows very well, as you both know very well, to do it consistently is the key. And that command, his stuff is not dominant enough that he can't command his fastball, or that he won't have to command his fastball, and that he can just flip his slider in there. So now it's just finding that consistency, but he is an incredible story already.
Well, you look at him right now, he's back at AA right now, and that's kind of where you can kind of figure things out because you face a lot of prospects. You kind of have the idea that those guys at someday might have the opportunity to be in the big leagues. Is Adam Miller one of your guys back on the radar now to get back to where he was?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question he's on the radar. Now it's a matter of that consistency coming. We'd like to see a little bit of dominance even in AA, and before we put him into the fire in AAA. And then if that happens, if there's consistency there with the stuff that he's showing, then he's already in the radar. Now he becomes a much larger blip.
All right, let's talk about Drew Pomeranz, #1 pick from last year. Drew has done an outstanding job at Kinston. When you look at this kid pitch, he truly seems like a man among boys.
He is dominating that level, and he's been everything we had hoped from a scouting standpoint, everything we've hoped from performance, from a person. The power to his stuff and the dominance of his fastball is really what stood out. He hasn't really needed his secondary weapons. We've forced him to use them. There have been slight limitations we've been working on. We want to take off the task list, and it's it's the smaller aspects of the game, controlling the running game, the pitch usage of things he didn't have to do as an amateur. We want to force them to happen to make sure there's a foundation that he can fall back on. And now it's time to see the next challenge for him. We need to get him moving at some point.
Well, there was another young lefty when you played, CC Sabathia. I mean, this guy looks a lot like CC, coming up through the ranks. But at the same time, I don't think CC dominated as much as this kid did. Do you think a lot of that has to do because he's a college pitcher, CC was a high school pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly do. They do have some similarities. They're strong, athletic, with above-average fastballs and above-average ability to spin the ball. I think that is a very good point, and I think his progression could be very similar to CC's if you take CC to AA. So they're worse. I remember when Carl Willis, our pitching coach in Burlington, was telling CC where to stand on the mound, was telling him where to put his foot on the rubber. He stood on top of it as opposed to in front of it. So the development, the progression is very different, but similar attributes.
We only have a few seconds left, but wanted to get an update on Stoll and Bryson and their rehabs.
Yeah, so glad to have those guys back. Those guys are major league arms. The upper 90s fastballs, certainly mid 90s fastballs, high strikeout rates for both of them. And Bryson had a ton of success in AA. Bryce Stoll had a ton of success in AAA. So we need to get those guys into the mix. Fortunately, that is a very strong area for us. Our AAA bullpen, our AA bullpen, we've got some good arms. So we'll challenge those guys at the upper levels soon. Very glad to have both of them back.
Ross, great stuff today. Always great to talk to you and hear about these kids, and looks like we got a lot of good ones coming up.
All right, Al. Thanks.
You got it.
Thanks, Ross.
Ross Atkins joining us here with Indians Minor League Magazine. We'll take a break, and when we come back, some compare Bryson Miles to a mix between Kirby Puckett and Deion Sanders. You'll meet him next as Indians Minor League Magazine continues here on SportsTime Ohio.
Beautiful. 26, 36 feet.